Now you're listening to Fantastic Formosa with Joh Abrams in Taipei. All right, this is Joh Abrams once again. We have a great episode for you on Fantastic Formosa. And we have a local, yokel, we call him, local yokel. That means someone who's born and raised in the country, in Taiwan. And I would like to welcome Paul.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's Paul Huang, right? With an H?
Yeah, that's my family name.
Good. All right. Well, for Westerners, they can get that all confused. Sometimes they'll pronounce it with a W or an H, or but those are different pronunciations, right?
Just say Po-Chang. That's that's what it is.
Did you choose your name, Paul?
Yes, I did.
And it was based on why?
Paul from the Bible.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Well, Paul's a very interesting character from the Bible. His original name was Saul, and he hunted down Christians, and then he changed it to Paul when he had a horse accident or something, and he saw Jesus. I think that was the story.
So it's customary for people to, especially in Taiwan, to pick an English name, and when they begin learning English, just because the Chinese phonetic pronunciation is kind of difficult, especially for foreigners, and also it also sounds a little bit weird to us. Probably not everyone agrees that, but I saw it is. My Chinese full name is Po-Chang Huang. Again, it's kind of strange to just say it. And so I picked the name Paul when I was very young, and but it was only much later that I realized the significance of the name Paul from the Bible.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
You originally
and I deeply and I was very happy that I chose, and I have been very happy that I chose this name.
Good. Well, a lot of people here choose a name that sounds like the Chinese name. It sounds like that's what you kind of did.
Yes, well, it is similar to my first name in Chinese.
Sure, yeah. They either do that or they do it for symbolism. It represents an idea or person. Good, excellent. So, where were you born originally?
So Kaohsiung, Kaohsiung City is a big place now because they combine Kaohsiung County and Kaohsiung City. Some years ago, when I was born, it was the Xiaogang was at the outskirts of the city, and even now the Xiaogang district is also a big place. It's where the airport is. It's also where the much of the Kaohsiung port facilities are.
Right.
And used to be still is a very industrial place. A lot of factories, a lot of chemical, electricity, oil refineries, plants there.
So that's different from the military naval base. That's a different base, right? Different port.
The RC Navy base is in Zoying.
Right. Okay, so you're around a lot of industry all your early years. Okay. How did you learn English?
I moved to Australia when I was 15, and I studied there, and I got my bachelor's degrees and also a master's degree from the Griffith University in Brisbane.
Wow, Griffiths, you call it?
Yes.
Okay, that's a famous one. My gosh. That must have taken a long time. Bachelor degree and a master's degree.
In the English system, the bachelor's degree is usually just 3 years, and master's is usually just 1 year. And that's just how much time I spent. So it was relatively short, 3 years for bachelor, 1 year for my master's.
That's a British system,
Yes.
right? The Americans have a completely different system, which is very annoying. It's normally 4 years, and then a 2-year master's. I think we should change it to the British system. I got a master's degree. It took 2 years. It was a waste of time, for me at least.
Later on, I also spent 2 years in a U.S. grad school. So
you went to where? In U.S.
In the Fletcher School at Tufts University.
Fletcher School of what?
Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy.
Wow, that's a very famous school. Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy is one where famous U.S. government people, State Department, and other groups rise to power, and they often have that on their resume. So I guess you're going to be an ambassador someday.
Well, I'm given how lazy or averse to work I am, I don't think I'll be used to a life as a public government employee. But
I don't think ambassadors do anything, so I wouldn't worry about it. It'd be a great job.
Oh, they have to they don't do actual work, but they have to spend most of the time fighting for their own power in group. That's the exact kind of thing that I don't like.
Yeah, U.S. ambassadors are appointed by the President of the United States, and they are often, there are two types. It's either a reward for your support for my presidency, and that often goes to people who go to places like Bermuda to be those are gifts, and then you don't send those people to places like China where you need people who speak the language and understand the world that they live in, and
even the chairman of the AIT, I don't think. Is it he or she now?
The chairman of the AIT is not the ambassador.
Right.
AIT is a very strange place. It has a chair in Washington, D.C.,
yes,
and it has a director here on the ground in Nehu at the AIT building. He's what we call the de facto ambassador. The chairperson doesn't do a thing, really, honestly. It's a symbolic position that really we don't need. We could get rid of it, and there's been a lot of push to get rid of the chairmanship because it's just a lot of money for nothing.
Right.
And sometimes we're embarrassed by the chair, but it depends on who they are, of course.
Yeah, right. I was talking about the representative. I don't think they even speak Mandarin.
The chairs in Washington often don't speak. The last one who spoke Chinese was Moriarty. He was based here as AIT, and he spoke fluent Chinese. And he was really good. Oh, my gosh. And the last one we had, a woman, I can't remember her name. She did not. Yeah. She was a political appointee, we call it. Political being... she did something that earned her an ambassadorship. But our current AIT director, Green is his name, he's the ambassador, sort of AIT, and he speaks fluent Chinese. And his wife is Taiwanese. So finally we have somebody who knows what they're doing, I think. I hope.
Well, then I got to do more homework on him because the fact that I don't even bother remembering their name is due to that I don't have faith in most of these US diplomats
I get it.
at all.
We don't. The last one, her name was Sandra O'Kirk, I think. She was a disaster.
I remember.
Yeah, and then now we have a guy named Green, and his wife's Taiwanese, and he was based in China and Taiwan, actually. So his Chinese is very good. He understands the politics of both countries. So we are lucky. For the next 4 to 8 years, we'll have Green in there, depending on who's president in the United States. But okay, so then you Gosh, you went to Harvard or something, right? Harvard University.
I recently was a visiting scholar at the Fairbanks Center for Chinese Studies at Harvard University. So
the visiting
for the
fellow,
past semester year.
My God, for the Fairbanks Center for Chinese Studies, right?
Yes.
Oh my God, that is the most famous school on Chinese studies in America. Period. Wow, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
That looks very good on CV, and that's why I wanted to pick your brain today. The America, the phrase "pick your brain" it doesn't mean I actually pick pieces of your brain out. It means I'm interested in your ideas, and I want to pick your brain. And for example, you might meet a doctor, a medical doctor, and you're waiting around in an airport, and you might say, "Can I pick your brain about my problem?" And the doctor says, "Oh no, not again." Somebody wants my free medical advice. But okay, so going from Kaohsiung as a child, 15 is young, to Australia must have been a radical change.
Well, I would say actually less shock for me to me as because I moved from Kaohsiung to Taipei when I was about 12 years old.
Okay, all
right. So I spent 3 years in Taipei, my middle school and high school, just before high school. That was, I think, just as much shock as moving from Taiwan to Australia. Because I adjust to Taipei very, very poorly at the beginning. Just didn't like the way the classes were, the students were.
Okay, different atmosphere.
Very, and even today I can't explain what exactly was why, but it's just that the whole vibe and the people and the pupils, the peers, I just didn't like them.
Well, you're from the South. It's very hot down there, and it's a different atmosphere down in Kaohsiung. I find it very different when I go down there. I don't feel like I'm in Taiwan. I feel like it is just different, personality-wise. So I can see why you had some problems in the early years when you came to Taipei.
Well, not problems. It's just that
uncomfortable.
But I think those years that they train me to be an independent thinker and not to rely, not to resort to the group for.
Is that Taipei or Kaohsiung you're talking about?
It's Taipei.
So you were being trained to be an independent thinker.
Because how much I really dislike the environment when I moved to Taipei, the school environment and the students around me. Now, I guess I can name the school as Renai Middle School. It's just not. It's considered one of these top elite schools for kids.
Right.
It's a public school. The elite schools are the public school. But it is in the center of Taipei. Parents spend a lot of money sending the kids to cram schools and trying to get them the best scores so they can get into a great high school. But not just that, but it's among with other things. I just
more find
Taipei kids to be
more competitive. Maybe
not people I want. Not that I want to hang out with. So I had a difficult few years.
You were used to group think, right? The group thinks a certain way in Kaohsiung, and they work together. Then you come up here.
Oh no! I mean, I would say probably the Kaohsiung was just more chill, more relaxed.
More relaxed. Okay, less competition.
And the scores, the tests, I mean, they were important, but they would it was not the thing. Even if you don't do well on those, you have other things to do. In Taipei, that's the only thing there is.
Well, yeah. Well, Taipei has a lot of things to do as a young man, right? You can go to Xinmending,
Oh, kids, those are much later, I think.
All right.
For middle school, at least during my year, middle school is even high school. They early high school, and they're not used to.
Not used to going there.
To.
I thought is that a college area or is it a high school area? What is it, Ximending? The shopping area.
Oh, Ximending is Wanhua is a tourist spot.
I don't see any tourists there. I only see Taiwanese there.
Oh, used to be a lot of tourists. Sing is still a lot of tourists these days.
All right. Well, I know that 50 years ago there were a lot of people there, American soldiers that would hang out there. Movie theaters and things to do. Okay, wow. So you experienced a little bit of culture shock. We call it culture shock from going from Kaohsiung to Taipei, but less culture shock from Taipei to Australia. Now, where in Australia did you go? What city?
Brisbane in Queensland.
Okay. Were you near the beach?
Technically, Brisbane is some miles away from the coast. However, it's very close. There is a coastal city called Gold Coast.
Gold Coast.
Just like something like, I think it's only like 30 minutes driving from Brisbane. So you can go to a beach holiday there, surf.
Get killed by a shark.
Sunbathing, whatever you want to do.
I know that the Gold Coast is famous for sharks, the great white.
Right. Well, I wouldn't know much about that because I never surfed there. I never went to a beach.
All right. I think sharks scare me to death. I don't want to have anything to do with them. The mere idea. I watched these TV documentaries on the Gold Coast, and they had to put up shark nets in the water to keep the sharks from killing the swimmers. So yes, being eaten by something is not my favorite idea of fun. But all right. But so you're in Australia. Are you studying hard? Are you having fun? Are you doing both? Are you doing what's going on down there? You're meeting people, right?
Oh, I was a nerd when I was at university. And read a lot of books. Read a lot of things. Not necessarily related to my degree or anything. It's just like read them.
All right.
Things about economics, about geopolitics, about philosophy. So, and I also had other hobbies going on at the time.
What kind of hobbies?
I took flying lessons. I got my pilot's degree, a pilot's license in Brisbane.
Wow. Okay. That's amazing. I had no idea. So you can fly an airplane.
Well, I haven't flown for a number of years, so
I
probably have to refamiliarize myself if I get into a Cessna again, but I would be able to fly after.
All right, good. All right. Now, they don't allow you to do that here, right? I think it's prohibited to fly an airplane here.
In Taiwan, I think they have light general aviation as well, but very, very small. They have an ultralight. They have as for sports. General aviation flight training school. I don't think they have one in Taiwan. I can be wrong, but it has been usually people don't train here.
Yeah. I'm thinking my sons might take a course or something, but I found out that the actual flight would have to be done somewhere else, which is a problem. A little expensive, isn't it, to learn how to fly?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
This definitely.
Right. Did you ever figure that you were in trouble at one moment? That I did something wrong, or?
There were a few cases, I did things wrong, but not like life threatening or anything. I guess we all had the pilots, you all had those moments, and then you try to try to play tricks that you're not supposed to. But when people are not looking, especially when people are not looking,
you play around a little bit. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. These are Cessnas, we call them, and Cessnas are very small aircraft, right?
Yeah.
And so you're qualified on a Cessna.
As for a single engine,
Mhm.
under the weight of 1,800 kilograms or something.
Okay,
I
all
don't
right,
remember the exact
all
number,
right,
but most single engine aircraft.
all right. So you could just, if you had a little bit of patience, you could still fly around and maybe bomb somebody. No. No, obviously
I'm
not.
not. I don't know. I don't know what if a plane would have the payload for the kind of bomb that I want to carry.
Just joking around.
Mm.
How many hours do you have logged?
I think I have 250 something hour.
All right, that's pretty good, right?
It is. It's almost enough for a commercial pilot license, which
Mhm.
I was pursuing, but I eventually didn't finish it when I came back to Taiwan.
Okay. All right. Well, I thought about doing it when I was a young man, and then I thought, well, no, it's just too expensive. And I had friends that flew Cessnas, and they all said the same thing, that it's exciting at first, and then later it just becomes like driving a car. You just
Oh, it's still fun after you're used to it.
yeah.
Still pretty fun.
I don't know. One of the things I regret not doing, I guess, I did parachute. Did you ever get a chance to do that?
I did it once or twice when I was much later when I was in the U.S.
All right, all right. So this was a round chute or square?
It was just a parachute experience thing.
Okay,
So,
all right.
with some instructor.
Okay, okay. So the square chutes, you can kind of use them as gliders. You can maneuver around. The round chutes, you don't have any real mobility. You can't change your direction. So, yeah, I really enjoyed that experience, but it was also a kind of an expensive hobby too. You had to buy your own parachutes, and you had to find a place where, a club that would take you. You had to be like accepted in a club. You just couldn't join a club. So they can be kind of, I don't know, picky. And there's always these horror stories of people the chute doesn't open, and the reserve chute doesn't open, and I saw a T-shirt of one of the guys with parachute, and a real hobby guy. He does a lot of it, and his T-shirt said, "We eat our dead." That means that the bodies, when they hit the ground so hard, there's nothing much left of them. I thought the T-shirt was funny, and then I started thinking about it, and I go, no, I don't want to jump out of airplanes anymore. But okay, so you also were an intern in Washington D.C. for a while, right?
Yeah, just for a few months during my grad school year.
Yeah, and then that was we call it Project 2049, right?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Now, what do they do?
It's a think tank focused on Asia Pacific,
Good. Awesome.
particularly China and Taiwan.
They're pretty famous here, aren't they?
Yeah, it's been famous for a number of years. They used to have great productions or reports and research. These days, I'm not sure what they're doing.
I think they're having some financial problems. Yeah, it was called Project 2049. Anyone can look it up on the internet and you'll see it. But over the past year, they've experienced some financial problems, and they're trying to dig their way out. If you dig your way out of something, that means that you're in trouble, and you have to dig to get out of trouble. Dig the dirt off of you. But okay, so if you also told me recently that maybe you will be going to Japan to study. What's this about?
Oh, I plan to move to Japan very soon to study Japanese.
Wow, the Japanese language and culture, right?
Yes.
Not just the language.
Right.
All right. Is there anything special about the culture you like? Is it the samurai stuff, ninjas, or is it? See, when I imagine Japan, I think of samurais, I think of ninjas, beautiful women. The mountain. What's the mountain called? The famous mountain outside Tokyo.
Fuji Mountain.
Fuji Mountain. Yes. So I don't have any idea what Japan is like because I've never been there. I have one time, but that's all I remember.
Well, I don't speak much Japanese now, and even though I spent quite a lot of time in Japan from for the last several years, but mostly just traveling, exploring. So I can't. But because I don't speak much Japanese and I don't know much Japanese that don't speak English. I know some, and quite a few Japanese speak English, but so I can't really say what their culture is. I mean, I can tell you my impression of their culture, but again, they are way more expats, Americans or elsewhere who have lived in Japan for a very, very long time, decades, and they've written books, and though they know so much about Japan more than me. Myself, I'm only a beginner. I know some level of what it is, what it's not, and what is good at, as to what is bad about it. Again, I can't say now because I haven't found it.
Well, I know that, we have to put it in Taiwan and Japan in context. In context means comparing and understanding it. Taiwan has got 24 million people. That's the size of Tokyo. So it's difficult to find a lot of foreigners here in Taiwan that understand and read and have been here for decades and longer. Having children here even. But in Tokyo, yeah, there's a lot of foreigners that have been there since, maybe they went there with the military, U.S. military, and then they decided to stay. They loved the place. So yeah, it's difficult to make a living there if you're a foreigner. So you're going to go to a special school there, or?
I'm going to enroll in a language school, just like how I did in Australia when I first went there.
Now, is it my understanding that Chinese and Japanese characters there's a lot of similarities?
The kanji in Japanese is very similar to the written Mandarin.
The traditional.
Yes, but kanji is only a small part of Japanese written language.
Okay, so it'll be a little bit easier for you to learn Japanese than it would be me.
So if I pick out a Japanese book and a newspaper, I can roughly tell what the content is about.
Really?
Just by reading the kanji.
Okay.
But of course, I won't know the entire of that.
Sure.
Because the one's not in kanji, the one in hiragana, katakana, I won't be able to understand.
Interesting. So, for me, you would have the advantage.
Maybe yes, I guess so, a little bit.
I would look at it and say, "Oh, it's Klingon." Klingon is a language from Star Trek. I'm sorry if nobody understands that. So after you begin your studies there in Japanese, are you planning on getting a PhD or anything?
Oh no, I don't know what I want to do with it. But I think it's important for me to tell the story to Japanese because about the things I'm researching these days. I think if I write in Japanese, I will be able to reach out to more Japanese readers and audience. I think they care about Taiwan, care about China, care about what's going on in the region. I think they deeply care about those things, unlike Americans. Americans are not interested in Asia Pacific at all.
Okay. Americans are too busy yelling at each other right now, screaming at each other about politics, and
That and other things, yes. If you look at the tourist number where Americans go for vacation every year, what dominates the top will be France, UK, countries that the Americans find culturally similar, accessible, and this has been the same for a long time. This has not changed. Even so, Japan is just as internationally accessible, and even for people who don't speak Japanese, but Americans don't. It's way down the list if they go for overseas vacation. And so that's just one of the signs that Americans in general, from the elites to the very bottom, Asia for them is not in their immediate periphery.
Yeah,
and that's the one thing I realized after spending some years in the U.S. and that's where I came to my realization.
Yeah.
Oh wow, Asia. If you think that Americans would invest as much into the affairs in Asia as they did in World War II, then I think that's mistaken.
America was still very Eurocentric. We were considered Western from the Athens, and the Jerusalem, the Hebrew and Christian traditions. Whereas Asia didn't, at that particular time in history, did not contribute as much to the way Americans think about the world. We didn't understand anything about Asia, honestly. It wasn't until the 1970s when we began to realize that there were things like, and this is a little silly, but, Confucius. Some of that stuff was beginning to draw popular opinion, popular interest in America. Buddhism, very late in life. But I don't think I don't think it has the same impact on American Western thinking yet. But it's growing, of course. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Who are the number one students in America? They all come from Asia. Number one in math, science.
Oh yes, there are about 300,000 Chinese students in the United States, and there are less than 300 American students in China at this moment.
Yeah, well, part of that might be visa problems.
It's not visa problem. It's just the fact that American kids these days, because of cultural reason, because of perception, because of whatever, they don't want to study in China. In China.
Well, a lot of them came here after COVID. They just it was a problem in China operating and going to school.
Some, but not that many. Generally, Americans it's one of my observations. Americans in general, they find comfort in places they are culturally familiar, and Asia is really not one of that.
Not yet.
No, I don't think it will be.
Yeah,
I don't think it will ever be because I mean there is nothing wrong with that. So like most Taiwanese, they find they like Japan a lot because it has many similarity to what the food, the environment and everything. So there's nothing wrong with Americans' tendency to lean toward Europe and Atlantic. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just why you have to consider that in the future, how big a price, how much a commitment the United States would can afford when it comes to Asia,
right? Yes.
Versus what China. Once you think about that, and you realize, wow, this competition is not going in the right direction.
Right, agreed. Well, we call it peer competition. Peer means equal. Peer, two people in the same class are peers. So peer competition might be a problem in the future, economically and diplomatically. And
I don't think it's peer anymore, because if you just this number alone, the fact that there are only 300 American students in China. In China, so the Sun Tzu, the art of war. There's this one quote: to defeat your enemy, you must know your enemy. And Chinese have 300,000 in the U.S. So who do you think? Not talk about a generation from now. Let's talk about 5 years from now. Who do you think would have better understanding of each other's strengths and weakness? Because 300,000 of these Chinese students, most of them, as many as 70-80%, I believe, are going back to China.
Yeah, of course, to improve their country. Yeah, that's a normal thing. Going back to your homeland.
I mean, the best thing the United States could do would probably be give each and every one of them a free green card so they can stay in the U.S. and work. And there will be a wonderful pool a pool of talents and people who know about China to pick from, to know about what China is. But this is of course impossible in the U.S. Trump kind of talk about that. He said he's going to give the green. In one of his speeches, I think, or an interview, he talked about he's going to give a free green card to every foreign university student who got a bachelor's degree.
Wow.
Of course, that is impossible. That he say a whole bunch of things. This is not one of those things that he's determined to, or is serious.
Yeah. I'd be more choosy. I would give it to Taiwanese. But then you would lose all your talent.
Well, Taiwanese don't know about China. So if you want to know about China, if you want to know about, if you want a generation of a large group of generations of people that know about your enemy, you better focus on Chinese students.
Well, Americans don't live in that world. They if you look at the university systems in America, there are very few systems, institutes that have a war studies department. They have a peace studies department.
Quite many, actually. Well, strategic studies, security studies is a big thing. So,
still they don't study warfare normally. These strategic,
quite a lot.
Strategic,
so much more than, say, Taiwan.
Well, I'm talking about peace studies in American universities. Everything is a peace studies program. Let's study peace and how to make peace in the world, and you don't find a lot of what I say, hardcore war studies departments, political science, strategic studies maybe, but tanks, what do tanks do?
Many of those. I would say there's that. United States is one place that you have a great number of academic studies dedicated to war.
Oh, really?
Warfare.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought they were mostly in the big institutions, not the average state
you have
university.
Many. The Fletcher School I graduated from.
Of course, that's a great program.
Is a member of the APSIA, APSIA Alliance. It has about, I think, 40 or 50 different schools of international affairs across the United States. Most of them have security studies program. United States has the largest academia dedicated to study war, to study military affair, security stuff. But that doesn't mean, of course, that you produce great policy. Because if you identify the people who actually make the policies,
yes,
a lot of them are not from these security studies field.
Yeah, well, when you get up to the higher positions, those are presidential appointments, and we have a real problem with that right now, which we're going to talk about in the next episode. American politics and policy stuff. It would be great fun. But if you were, you've gone from Kaohsiung to Taipei to Australia to amazing life story. What would you recommend a young person to do? How would they follow this same sort of career track, maybe, if they wanted to go outside of Taiwan?
Well, for Taiwanese or for everyone else, I mean, my suggestion would be the same. I think traveling to places you are not familiar with is a good test. It's a good thing to do. Because you might find that you don't like those places, but then you have to visit there first.
Okay.
To know it.
Okay.
You might find things you like. And that might change your life. You might decide, I'm going to move there. I'm going to live there. I like the people here even more than my hometown, so I'm going to be here.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Because it's all about life is all about the choices and that you make and what's available to you. You make choices based on what's available to you. The more you travel, the more people you know around the world, the more choices you are going to have.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, in life, get out of the house before you're married and travel. Yeah.
So the worst thing is to stay at the same place and thinking that this is all the choices that you have, similar to what Taiwan kids were told. Especially when I grew up, when I grew up, that you have to do well in the test to go to a star high school and then a star university, NTU, National Taiwan University, or one of these public universities. I mean, no offense to these Taiwan great the elite universities. I wouldn't even call it elite anyway, based on the things that we have heard. But these days it doesn't even take much to enter NTU because they have no students anymore. They have they can't find enough students anymore.
Well, that's because of fewer babies, right? Fewer people being born. So yeah, they want to fill the classrooms. That happened in America. Too.
But Taiwan kids were told this is the way out. Is you have to have a good job, a good career. You have to have this. Look at where they got them. A lot of these kids who got out of NTU depends on what
subjects
work they would do, but not necessarily better than people who didn't do well. Who work on other things.
Yeah, travel is very important to get out of your comfort zone. Get out of your comfort zone is a phrase we use in America. Yeah, try different things before you're married and got kids and you can't travel. So, yeah, get out there and go on an adventure. Right. Well, Paul, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
It's going to be great. We're going to have you on the next episode to talk about American crazy politics and the upcoming election and try to explain to people why America has gone crazy, why this election is the strangest I've ever seen in my life, perhaps in history. Thanks, folks, for tuning in to Fantastic Formosa, and have a good time. See you next time.